this Chris Columbus story. So let's get into that, talking Harry Potter and Fantastic Four from 2005. Here he is. Chris Columbus has helmed many enduring family blockbusters, including Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, and the first two installments in the Harry Potter movie franchise. You can probably see why that would make him a good fit to helm a movie around Marvel's first family. The filmmaker was credited as an executive producer on Fantastic Four from 2005, but confirmed in a new interview, quote, that he had nothing to do with it. Columbus intended to direct the Marvel Comics adaptation, but was fired after a meeting with studio execs. He said, "We were in a weird situation. On the first Fantastic Four, I had worked on a script. There were a lot of writers involved. They were about to make a movie, and I was producing it. I met with the director and had some ideas. I basically said, some of this conceptual art should feel more like Jack Kirby, the creator of the Fantastic Four, and should feel more like the Silver Age of Marvel. I left that meeting, and on the way back from my house, I got a call from the head of 20th Century Fox saying I was fired and had too much of an opinion." What? Columbus apparently circled many superhero movies around that time, including Spider-Man and Daredevil. However, being fired from Fantastic Four, quote, "probably soured me a little. Over the years, people have done it so well that I personally lost interest in making a superhero movie. It started a little bit with Spider-Man's 2 when I saw what Sam Raimi did. With that, I thought it was a perfect superhero movie. Certainly Matt Reeves' The Batman with Robert Pattinson was a brilliant film too. I realized I don't have a desire to make those movies anymore because people are doing them better than I ever could at this point in my career." So what are your thoughts on that, Steph? His talk about getting let go from Fantastic Four because he wanted to do it in the style that eventually would be the style that Matt Shackman did, which was the Jack Kirby 1950s style and the Silver Age style. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's it's always funny to hear the stories all these years later that you would just never think of. And it's so crazy, all the stories we're probably going to continue to hear from these major universes like DC and Marvel, because there is that in Star Wars. When you're working with a company or a franchise like that, you have some say, and
Right.
but most of the time you are hired because you're able to kind of fit into what their overall vision is. Now, I don't know, like, I think some people are the exceptions, because I feel like Christopher Nolan was kind of given the keys to do his own thing, and that really paid off, and it's like exists in its own little place. But I think for the most part, it's really hard for these creators to, they're hired because they have a distinctive vision and kind of style, and then they're very quickly kind of beat down, and we see these changes all the time, and mid filming or production or even post, sometimes you hear about a fallout. So that makes sense. I also totally understand what he's saying in terms of, like, when you see something that you originally felt like you could do because no one was doing it, and then you
Yeah.
see someone do it so well, you're like, okay, like, I think that's good discretion, like, because really you should be making stories because you haven't seen that story
Right.
told the way you want to tell it. But
Right.
then once it is, it's like, well, now it's, like, almost impossible not to feel like I'm copying or
Yeah.
whatever it may be, so I get that.
Right.
I know that you've heard of Viagra. I know you've heard of Cialis. You probably even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, Rougiette Ready. If the usual pills are not doing the trick, Rougiette Ready, it could be the answer. It's a 3-in-1 formula, and it dissolves under your tongue. It absorbs fast. You'll be ready in just 15 minutes on average, not hours, and it affects can last up to 36 hours. If you want proof, over 150,000 men have made the switch, and you can read their customer reviews right on the site. Getting started is simple. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, and if you're prescribed, treatment ships quickly to your door. Now connect with the provider at rougiette.com/Christian to see if a Rougiette Ready prescription is right for you. You can use that code Christian to get 15% off today. That is Rougiette, RUGIET.com/Christian. Use that promo code Christian, get 15%. Head to Rougiette.com/Christian. Use that code Christian, get 15% off today. Use the code, support the show, and let Rougiette know that we sent you. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting retcon now to say that, because who's going to verify this with anyone, right, Chris? Well, I had the same idea years ago, but they kicked me off the film for one. And I don't know if fired is the right term to use because it seems like they were still in negotiations about what he wanted to do with the movie. So maybe they just felt the idea of him having too much of an opinion. He's painting the meeting as being just me exchanging some ideas, and they fired me for having an opinion. There was probably more heated back and forth going on behind the scenes, and then the execs were like, "Yeah, this is not where we want to go," and he seems pretty determined to do it in a certain way. And we think our way or the way we want to do it is the better way to go about it to capture what people want to see. Because who knows if you had done the 1950s Jack Kirby type of energy back in 2005, would people have really been here for it? I don't know. So maybe the executives felt a certain way about it, and they brought in Tim Story, who had only done Barbershop before that movie. He'd also done Taxi, but that's a terrible Jimmy Fallon, Queen Latifah movie. But Barbershop had a lot of buzz behind it, so it was an interesting choice to bring in a black director to take on Fantastic Four. And arguably, there are people who like those two movies and defend those two movies. I don't, but certainly there are a lot of people that did and made millions. So who knows if Chris Columbus would have necessarily done a good job with those movies. And because I also think Chris has a bit of a mixed record himself. I think the first two installments of the Harry Potter franchise are arguably the weakest installments of the Harry Potter franchise. It doesn't really kick in till the third installment, Prisoner of Azkaban, which Alfonso Cuarón did. That was amazing. And so it got on from there. And David Yates, I think, did an excellent job with that franchise as well down the road. So yeah, it's it's an interesting comment. But speaking of the Harry Potter stuff, let's move on to that. He has comments about it because, as I said, he graduated the first two. Oh, sorry, he directed the first two installments of the recent films. He was talking to Variety about the possibility of him being a part of the Harry Potter franchise, and he said, "No, I've done it. You saw my version. There's nothing left for me to do in the world of Harry Potter." Because right now he is promoting Thursday Murder Club that is on Netflix right now. But he said he saw the first pictures of this all, and he wasn't that impressed when he looked at the photos of the first photos that were released. He said, "I'm seeing these photographs, and Nick Frost is wearing the exact same costume that we designed for Hagrid. Part of me was like, what's the point? I thought the costumes and everything was going to be different, but it's more of the same. It's all going to be the same." And he was saying that on the Rest is Entertainment podcast there in his comments. So what are your thoughts on that? This is a guy who is connected to the Harry Potter franchise, saying that the costumes and the pictures he's seeing, that there's no new ground being broken here. Do you sense that he is like the first of many who are going to have this feeling about this series that's coming out?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think it's bound to happen, and I think, like we were just saying with the superhero movies, or any movie that you had an idea of and then later someone executed it really well. I love the Harry Potter franchise.
Yes.
I think that it is such a magical franchise, and there's something for everyone.
Yes.
Depending like where you are in your life, there's a movie that really works. I happen to like all of them for what they are, especially dealing with like little children at the beginning. They're in like 4th grade, right? So they're so young. But it's like how are they not going to? It's already in their head. Like, unless they got everyone on set who hadn't seen the movies at all, then you'd have a fighting chance of coming up with something a little different. But because everyone's seen the movies probably more than once, like ABC Family is responsible for me seeing it about 100 times. So, I mean, as soon as November hits, they're playing Harry Potter movies, and before streaming, like that, it's ingrained in my head. So you have an entire group population that couldn't get away from Harry Potter. So I don't even know. Like, it's like if I was on set, it would be. I thought about this, like with different how do you'd have to like I'd have to go to like EMDR training to be like get the visions of the previous costumes and the mannerisms out of my head, because I don't know how they would do it. I don't know how they're gonna do it. Now, that's not really a make or break for me. let's
Mhm.
say it is kind of almost a copy and paste with a little differences here and there, of course, because I have a feeling it might be like Lord of the Rings extended version, where
Oh,
because the movies missed a lot of parts that the books had, and that
yeah,
was the book readers' biggest complaints. Ginny got the warm side of the pillow the entire franchise. Like, she never got to sleep on the cold side of the pillow because they just kind of forgot, didn't include. They showed one moment where she's badass, but really Ginny is so awesome in the books. And then
yeah,
there's a few characters like that, a few storylines like that. And so I'm sure we're gonna get extended versions of that, which will be awesome because it's
yeah,
a series, and that's the beauty of a series and what it can allow and
right,
kind of just grow on it. But in terms of I don't know, it does seem very, very, it's hard to get away from. Did you
yeah.
read the books? Are you
Well, I
like
mean,
a fan?
yeah, I played the character at Universal Studios for 2 years of
Oh, that's awesome.
the wand keeper. I was the guy in the show who picks somebody out of the crowd and does the whole thing. And there's pictures of me doing it. You can see. So I was very proud to be part of that for a very long time. In terms of the time I was there, because 2 years is a long time for me. And sitting in there doing that and seeing the experience and how much people love Harry Potter, it really added even newer element to the fandom of Harry Potter that I already had, and I really saw how that franchise emotionally moves people. Like, it's amazing. I had an experience one time with a young woman. I picked her out of the crowd because it's up to us to pick out people who we see as big Harry Potter fans. There's 30 people in a room, and then you're doing your whole spiel, and then you go, I sense magic from you, and you bring them forward. Well, this woman I had chosen, she was there with her three sisters. Their mother had just died of cancer and had paid for them to go to Universal Studios as a final gift to them before she
Aw.
passed on. And so they were in tears the whole time as I was talking to them after, because the crowd eventually, the 30 people leave, and then you stay with the person and their family there to talk to them for a little bit before they go. And you give them this whole spiel about how to handle the wand and be careful with the wand and all of that in character. And those are those moments you saw where people were so moved by this thing. And so for me, I really care about the franchise. So the idea that they were going to do a reboot of this TV series wise, I am excited in two ways. One, I think Francesca Gardner is a great choice because she was on Succession. So I think they're going to explore more of the darker edges of the Harry Potter franchise that Chris Columbus and did not necessarily explore in the first two movies. And then Alfonso Cuarón did to a degree, and David Yates did as well. I'm excited to see what more they discover as they're going through the series that they can bring out now and add a bit more maturity to it than people who have just seen the movies might expect from the Potter franchise. So that's what I'm hoping for. That being said, though, I think Chris is absolutely right. There's not much when you look at the newer versions and the older versions, there really isn't that much of a difference. And look, you're not going to stray too far away from it costume wise because people lose their damn minds as we see in our world
Right.
of entertainment. But still, you want to have something that sparks a feeling that it's new, but also adheres to the original stuff. And those pictures don't make it necessarily look like they stand out. So I get Chris's point, but we'll have to see when the first trailers drop. We'll have to see when the first footage drops if it feels distinctly unique. Because if it feels like a retread, people are going to turn on this very, very strongly. And if you think you've seen the DC fandom and the Marvel fandom
Oh
and
my
any
gosh.
and the Star Wars fandom go insane, start fucking around with Harry Potter and see what happens. I mean, they already went after J.K. Rowling for obviously her comments and what have you. So they'll have no problem going after this franchise with both,
Yeah.
feet.
You're
Yeah.
talking about Dumbledore's army. Yep,
Yeah,
we come
exactly.
in strong. Yep, we're warriors. We're fighters. We've been trained for this to fight the
Yeah.
darkness. But
Yeah.
I do leave space for the new generation
Mm,
of kids that
for
maybe
sure.
haven't seen the movies, and that this will be their movie
Yeah.
version for them. And then also, there's a good chance that a lot of these kids haven't seen the movies, and hopefully they
Yeah.
haven't, because that
Yeah.
would be very the choices that each of the actors made were so what I love about British actors. Like,
Yeah.
they just take characters and make them so charactery without becoming creature like
Yeah,
if
yeah,
that
yeah.
makes sense. Like it's so grounded but out of this world, and I would have a impossible time if I saw like a Hermione and
Yeah.
then was like, how do I make that different?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think this is, and you were saying earlier, Steph, how you hope Star Wars protects Flynn Gray. I hope WB has things in place to protect these kids as well.
Yes.
Even though the 3 kids they've cast have done stuff before, so they've got experience in the business, you just have nothing that prepares you for the overnight fandom that will come with you with once these things get released. And so I hope they have things in place to protect them because it's super important to
Yep.
do that with these kids, right?
Yep. They have nothing to do with how the story's made.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So
Leave
100%.
the kids alone.
Oh my God. Will no one think of the children?